you'll notice that the sides are cut away from the tank. I get a lot of angry messages and emails about why we cut the armor away from this tank. That actually happened as early as 1946, and what happened was then Colonel Jarrett, who got promoted during the war, had all these foreign vehicles, and the Ordnance Corps just started sending them out as range targets, weapons testing targets. We know that at least one Panther was destroyed here at Fort Benning at a recoilless rifle test, just completely annihilated. And we know that there was at least 2 Tigers, there's 1 left. There was probably at least 2 King Tigers, of which there's 1 left, but there was also 20 Hulls that all got shot up, and then no less than 14 Panthers, of which now only 4, which we all have here at our collection, exist from that wartime batch. So Colonel Jarrett decides he's going to use these as teaching tools for teaching how tanks were developed and used in World War II. And the way he does it is he cuts them away, and he makes these cutaways. They were fully equipped inside, and so if you went to the ordnance collection in the late 40s, early 50s, you'd actually see these cutaways, and there sometimes would be volunteer soldiers inside wearing German uniforms, showing how the crew ergonomics worked as they performed the crew drills. Am I sad the steel's gone? Yes. It's the only Tiger, though, you can actually see inside. I really think that once we get it dressed out, it'll really make a good presentation. I mean, we'll really want to give people kind of a 3D view. We often get asked, why don't we just cover up the holes? And at one time, the holes were covered up by sheet metal. It just, 1, it doesn't look right. 2, it's not the original steel, so in my opinion, it doesn't really matter anyway. And then 3, no one else, there's no other Tiger one that you can see into, and you'll see on our King Tiger as well. I think it just makes a very interesting teaching point, not only about the Tiger One, but also how these vehicles were used in the past. But the Tiger One, we use it as a very piece. Not only do we teach the history of the Tiger One, World War II history, but we use this when we bring students in here. By students, I mean early soldiers early in their careers, in their initial training. We kind of go through the Tiger One and we look at strengths and weaknesses of a tank. So look at the suspension, we look at the strength that with so many interweaving road wheels, you're going to have really low ground pressure, which means good maneuverability, but at the same time, it could be a maintenance nightmare if you have to get back to innermost road wheel and it requires you to remove 13 other road wheels. We talk about the engine, the Maybach, really good engine, but for this tank and this weight to power ratio probably wasn't the best. This tank's been worked on here now for about 8 years. 90% of the work, at least, has been done by one man, my boss, Lindar. He's been doing it all by himself. This is his project. He doesn't let a lot of other people help with it, except for when it comes to heavier components. But as we're getting ready to get it ready to move to the new home, it'll go into our new restoration shop. You can actually see some of the components we pulled out of our warehouse. So we have here the drive sprocket. So this is what sits here in the front would actually drive the track. And those, of course, would be attached to the final drive components that you see sitting there. Now, I should point out what's really interesting is that if you look inside the drive sprocket, that's original German paint, we're pretty sure. And then this red here is actual German primer, wartime primer. We do believe that color is Raleigh 8000, so that means the tank probably got painted into a Tropen 1 scheme, which was a camouflage scheme. It's the same scheme that Tiger 131 in England is painted in. She probably went to North Africa in the same paint scheme. We have seen some traces of Panzergrau, so we think she may have actually still been in Panzer Gray as an initial Tiger early on, but then got repainted before going to North Africa. But as you can see, we're still working on it. We have the muzzle brake here. A lot of people often ask me, what is the point of a muzzle brake? So looking at the gun barrel there, but the muzzle brake, its whole job is to dissipate gases coming down the barrel. It shoots them to the side, and that slows down the recoil of the gun, because being a very powerful gun on the Tiger One, if you're not managing the recoil, you can actually cause damage to the rest of the tank, and that's actually something tanks deal with even today with modern recoil systems. So Tiger One, very interesting tank. I could go more into the technical details about whether it was a good tank, a bad tank. That's not the point of this video. I'll let other people argue that. It's just a very, very interesting history, because the Tiger One, for the most part, a pretty good tank. Just a lot of other issues came into play that kind of limited its ability to be effective on the battlefield.
Thank you guys for watching my video, and thanks to Mr. Cogan from NACC as well for the time and the presentation. This Tiger One is here in the workshop at the National Armor and Cavalry Collection, as mentioned, in Fort Benning, Georgia, here in the US. I'm thankful for the efforts of the staff and the volunteers there to preserve it, and to preserve the historic cutaways along the way. I hope this video helped to explain the history behind the cutaways and why they're actually kind of special. But I know the next question is going to be, when can we see this tank? And open houses for visitation aren't currently planned until the second phase of the move is complete, as well as once the pandemic has eased off and restrictions are lifted for visitation. Make sure to follow the NACC's social media to keep up with the progress on that. Open houses will be announced. So once again, follow NACC with the links below down in the description of the video. For more tanks from the NACC and other armored adventures, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.